Creative artists are fascinating people. Composers, authors, painters, poets, sculptors. How do they do what they do? How do they pull those ideas out of thin air and put them together into something that moves us and inspires us? And for those who create inspiration, where do they find their own inspiration? We're going to consider some of those questions in the 2010-2011 season of the Baton Rouge Symphony Orchestra, a season we have called The Romantics: Passion, Pride, and Poetry. The Romantic era in music launched a whole new way in which the composer connected with his audience. It got personal. Composers were putting more and more of themselves into the music. Their music became an expression of who they were, what they thought, experiences they've had. Passion was a big part of the driving force behind the Romantic composers, and passion will be a big part of our season, coming through powerfully in works like the Piano Concerti of Tchaikovsky and Schumann, Brahms' Second Symphony, orchestral highlights from Wagner's Ring Cycle, Mendelssohn's Violin Concerto, and virtually every work on the season. And we'll even find passion in places we might not think to look, like the music of one of the masters of the classical era, Franz Joseph Haydn. Haydn was a composer whose music conjures words like refinement, grace, elegance, and humor. But during the compositional period of his life we now call the Sturm und Drang era, Haydn took a remarkably passionate bent for an 18th century composer, and we'll sample one of those works, his Symphony No. 49, called La Passione, one of the seeds of the Romantic era to follow. The Romantic era was also a time in which composers celebrated their heritage, their homeland. The personal pride in who they and their friends and neighbors were as people and where they had come from, this pride came out in their music. This nationalism was a powerful, important force behind the Romantic style. We have some great examples of national pride lined up for next season: Respighi's The Pines of Rome, Kodai's Harry Janos Suite, Vaughan Williams' Fantasy on a Theme of Thomas Tallis, Ginastera's Harp Concerto, Sibelius's Fifth Symphony. Sibelius, a composer who wrote the Finnish landscape and language into his music. The Romantic composers also turned to extra musical sources for their inspiration, and they had a fond bent for poetry and other forms of literature. One of the programs next season will open with Glinka's Ruslan and Ludmila Overture, a work inspired by the poem of the same name by Glinka's fellow countryman Alexander Pushkin. And the grand finale of the season will explore musical treatments of two poems by Friedrich Schiller, one called Nönier, a lamentation on death, and the other a celebration of life, in Schiller's Ode to Joy, which of course drives the finale of Beethoven's Symphony No. 9 and brings our season to a close. We hope you join us next season, our 62nd season. 62 years of bringing the world's greatest music to our city. 62 years of bringing our community together to share a common experience, an experience of beauty, inspiration, and enlightenment. The Romantics: Passion, Pride, and Poetry. See you there.